Hi, I'm Hawken with Topdon, and today we're going to talk about cutting keys and programming them to a vehicle. Now, the vehicle we're going to use today is a 2015 Volkswagen Jetta. So before we launch into some of the technical operations and the process and everything, just want to talk about a couple of things that are important to keep in mind if you're going to be doing key work. Number one, it's very important that you are looking after the security of the customer's vehicle. Now, when I say this, what's really important here is that we're verifying the ownership of the vehicle from the customer before we cut any keys and program them to the vehicle. So what does that constitute? What we need to be doing is verifying that the vehicle actually belongs to the customer. So in order to do that, we need a vehicle title and perhaps a government-issued ID like a passport or a license. And we need to verify that the person listed on the title matches the person who is listed on the driver's license and who has brought us the car. Because again, we need to verify that this person actually owns this vehicle before we agree to do any key work for them and replace and program any keys for their vehicle. So just something to keep in mind throughout the process. The other thing you want to make sure that you're doing throughout this process is if you're taking any pictures of any customer data, VIN number, key codes, anything of that nature, it's very important that you destroy those after completing the service. Again, it's crucial that we protect this data for the customer to safeguard the vehicle from being stolen or in any way leaving it vulnerable to easier theft. So again, those are just some pointers you want to keep in mind. So that being said, we're going to launch into the technical stuff now. So one of the first things I want to talk about when we're talking about keys is test keys. Test keys are a very inexpensive thing you can buy, which will allow you to essentially practice your key cut before you cut the actual remote for the vehicle that has the blade on it. Now, this is assuming we're using a bladed key, of course. But if we're using a bladed key, you want to cut a test key first just to verify that it will in fact fit in the lock cylinder, both of the ignition as well as the door. That way you're not using an expensive remote with a blade and having to replace that or dismount that or something of that nature if in fact your cut is no good. So they're very inexpensive. You can get them from many professional key suppliers. So again, test keys are a great tool, something to definitely pick up. That being said, we're going to launch into the process here and we're going to go through a few things just to kind of demonstrate what the process is from cutting all the way up to programming the key to the car. So the first thing we're going to do is we've received our replacement remotes. Now there's some things that you want to check on the remotes before you order them, and that's really important that you look at the FCC ID, which is typically printed where the blade folds into. So the FCC ID is very important to verify that the new remote that you're ordering has the same FCC ID. It's also important that you verify that the megahertz, which is the radio frequency signal transmitted between the key and the vehicle, is the same megahertz. So this vehicle that we're going to be programming today is a 315 megahertz vehicle. So we've also verified the FCC ID, and we do need to make sure that the megahertz on the key actually matches the vehicle. So how can we do this? What we can use to verify this is actually the Topdon TP48 tire pressure monitoring tool. So this actually has the ability to test the radio frequency of the key. So we're going to go ahead and show you how that's done. Now if we look closely here at this key, maybe we can get it to focus here. Guess you can't really see that too good, but this particular key is actually printed and it says that it's a 433 megahertz key, even though we ordered it and it says it's supposed to be a 315 megahertz key. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the TP48 to verify. So we're going to take the TP48 here and we're going to go through the menus. We'll go over here. We're going to switch brands and we'll go all the way up to Volkswagen. Select it. Now we're going to say we want to test for 433 megahertz. So now it's on there. We're going to take the key, place it up at the top here, right by the antenna, and press one of the buttons. Now we press one of the buttons on the key and we can see our signal is good and strong. So this key is in fact a 315 megahertz key, even though it is printed incorrectly on the key and says 433. So that's actually great news, because now we don't need to order another key. So again, this is a really nice thing that you can use just to verify that the key is indeed the correct megahertz frequency for transmitting to the vehicle. So now that we've verified that the new remote actually has the same radio frequency, and we have checked and the FCC ID printed on the new key does indeed match the FCC ID of the old key, which we are going to clone or copy, now we can go ahead and scan the original key and use this optical decoder to find the bitting on the key so our key machine can actually cut the key. So we're going to do that next. So now we're going to place the key inside this optical key decoder here, and we're going to use an app on our phone. You can also use a tool that does the same thing as the app, and the tool is going to decode the key bitting. So we'll pull up the app here, and I won't show you the screens for the machine and whatnot. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the cutting process. This is just a basic demonstration of that part of the process. Okay, so we're connected to our key machine. Now we are going to do the optical identification of the key. Okay, so we're going to show you here the app has successfully decoded the key, so we can see we've got the bitting there. So now we can tell our machine exactly what to cut for the key. So now that we've determined the bitting, we're going to go ahead and we're going to insert the key into the key cutting machine, and we're going to tell the machine to cut the key. And the only reason we're skipping to this step is I've already cut a test key, and the test key came out good and worked in the door locks just as designed. You can see the test key right there. So now we're going to go ahead and cut a real key for the vehicle. Now we're going to go ahead and let the key machine do the cutting. Okay, now we're at the second half of the process, which is programming the key to the car. So we're going to take you through this process. The first thing we need to do is hook up our T-Ninja Box, which is right here. So the T-Ninja Box has a cable that comes off of it, and that cable is essentially a Y cable that you connect, and it will connect to your VCI as well. So here we've got the VCI and the T-Ninja Box both connected in the Y cable configuration, so that it has added the functionality of the T-Ninja Box to the scan tool. Now we also have a cigarette lighter adapter cord plugged into the Y cable to provide a constant power source to the T-Ninja Box. So now we're going to use our Topdon Phoenix Max to initiate the programming process. Okay, so we're going to take you through the key programming. We're going to go to the Services menu, and we're going to scroll down until we find Immobilizer, which is IMMO. Then we're going to select that. Now we're going to get to this menu here, and we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now it's going to connect to our dongle. Now we're going to go ahead and read the disclaimer, and then we'll go ahead and click on the disclaimer to say OK. Now we're going to scroll down until we find Volkswagen, as that's the vehicle that we're working on, and we'll hit Volkswagen. Now it's asking us to switch on the ignition, so we're going to do that. And when you switch on the ignition, generally speaking, what I would recommend is start with the original vehicle key in the ignition. Now we got another disclaimer here that we're going to go ahead and acknowledge and accept. And this vehicle is a Generation 4 and above Immobilizer system. Now you can read Volkswagen's self-study program on Immobilizer systems, and that will kind of outline which generation starts when. Would definitely recommend doing a Google search on that. If you just search Volkswagen Immobilizer SSP, so Samuel Peter, you will find a PDF on that which will explain when the different generations existed. So now we're going to go to Anti-Theft Key Matching after we selected Immobilizer 4. Now we're going to go to Key Learning and tap on that. Now it's telling us to connect our T-Ninja box together with our VCI. You'll see that there's a Y cable that comes with your T-Ninja box. So you'll connect the Y cable to both your dongle and or VCI and your Ninja box, and then connect that to the OBD port on the vehicle. There is also a connection for a cigarette lighter adapter to plug in to constant power on the vehicle. Should also recommend that you do connect your vehicle to a battery maintaining device like a Tornado T30,000 or a Tornado T90,000 during your key programming so that your battery does not drop voltage down below the required threshold. If you look in the top right of our screen right now, we are holding steady at about 13.8 volts as we are using the Tornado T30,000 to maintain voltage during this process. So we're going to hit OK. It's going to connect with the T-Ninja box and also check the internet connection, which you do have to have. So we're going to try automatic detection of the anti-theft system. Sometimes this will work, sometimes it will not. Again, if you need assistance figuring out which Immobilizer version you have, I would strongly recommend downloading that self-study program from Volkswagen, as that will help clear up the different generations of anti-theft. But a basic summary is the K-line anti-theft is older vehicles. Fourth generation is most of the newer stuff up to a certain point. Then they implemented fifth generation in the very recent past, and the MQB is one of their most recent platforms. So again, you'll have to do a little research to sort out which version yours is. So now we get to this screen here. This vehicle is a low-line vehicle, so it's going to be a CAN instrument cluster immobilizer. Now what does that mean? The immobilizer is built into the instrument cluster on this vehicle. So you can see there's some notes on some of these other versions, what model they have. So you'll be able to effectively tap on those if you wanted to do that. Remote matching is used for just matching the remote function of the key, not programming the key itself to start the car. So you're going to select the fourth generation CAN after we try the auto ID. So we'll try that auto ID, and we'll see what happens here. It did not work, so we're going to go into fourth generation immobilizer, and then we're going to click on fourth generation CAN instrument, and then we're going to try the automatic diagnostic type, and if that doesn't work, then we have to go do some research. However, I will tell you that if you try one of these different versions and it doesn't work, then it's not a match to your vehicle. So you may want to do just checking each one of these versions until one of them is able to read the anti-theft data. So if you do have problems figuring out which one is which, again, go through each one, and eventually one of them will pull the anti-theft data, and that's the one that matches your system. So in this case, it was the 24 C4 version, or I believe, and then also it was 2014 and up. So this was a newer one. So now we get to this menu here, and we have some different options. You can back up the EEPROM data, which is step one. It's not a bad idea. Never hurts to do that. But then the essential step that you really have to make sure you do here is reading the anti-theft data. Until you read the anti-theft data, you will not be able to go any further with the key programming process. So we're going to go through that now. So, another note here, generate OEM dealer key, which is down here about halfway on the left. That is to try and clone an existing key. If you want to create a unique ID brand new key, which is an aftermarket replacement key, then you want to do generate dealer key. But before you do either of those two, you need to do read anti-theft data. So we'll see what happens here as we go through. So you see we didn't read the anti-theft data first. So we need to read the anti-theft data first. Then we'll be able to do either generate dealer key or generate OEM dealer key. Again, the differences between those two, the generate dealer key is to program a brand new remote an aftermarket remote that is unlocked and program it to the car just like a dealer key would from the factory. So brand new blank key with no programming on it already. Generate OEM dealer key is going to clone any existing key you have, and then you will be able to basically insert that key into the car during the learning process, and the vehicle will basically think it's the same as another key you already have. So we'll show you what we mean here as we go through this. So we're just going to save the anti-theft data here, kind of as an insurance policy. Make sure that we have that backed up just in case something were to happen. It's always a good policy to save this, and of course it does save directly to the tool. You can see it's showing us where it's saving the file. It backs up the data successfully, so we know that that's in there now. Okay, so here's our anti-theft data. We can see that we've got a bunch of different data stored here, but we'll scroll through and you'll be able to see the key IDs. So you'll notice on key IDs, we have 2 key IDs currently programmed to the vehicle. So when we were talking about in that previous menu, generate OEM dealer key is going to copy one of the existing IDs that you see listed there, and it's going to copy that ID to the brand new key. So the vehicle will never be able to tell the difference between your new key and your existing key. They will literally go into the ignition and the computer will think they are identical. If you do the other option, generate dealer key, that key will program a new ID into the Immobilizer. So instead of seeing that we have 2 key IDs programmed, if we were done with the process after doing generate dealer key, then we would see we have a 3rd ID programmed to the vehicle instead of just 2. Again, if we do OEM dealer key, that will clone one of the existing IDs and just write that to the brand new key. If we do generate dealer key, that is going to write the unique ID of that new key into the Immobilizer and will have another slot filled. So key ID 3 will show up as having a 3rd key programmed. So we're just going to go through this here to the next step. So now we're going to try generating the OEM dealer key. So we're going to try to clone the key. So now it's asking us here, we want to place a blank key into the T-Ninja box. So there is a large hole in the T-Ninja box. You will stick the key in there. You want to extend the blade out and stick the key into the slot. And remember, it's going to be the blank key, the one that has not been programmed yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that and then hit OK. So now it's asking us if we want to copy the ID of one of the existing keys. So again, generate OEM dealer key is going to copy an existing key ID and write that to the brand new key. So then when you put that in the ignition, the vehicle will not even be able to tell if the key that's in there is the new key you just programmed or the existing key whose ID you copied. Okay, so we're back to the main page here. Now we're going to do generate dealer key. So we chose to do generate dealer key instead of doing generate OEM dealer key. Now, why did I choose to do that? Because I felt that it would be better for us to demonstrate writing a brand new key to the Immobilizer memory so you could see that the identifier for the key shows up in the Immobilizer after you write it. Because if you do generate OEM dealer key, and you do successfully program the key, the only real confirmation that you're going to get that you've successfully programmed that key, aside from going into live data and seeing that the key is or is not authorized, is if it starts the vehicle and the vehicle runs and drives normally and it unlocks the doors. That's how you will know generate OEM dealer key worked. On the other hand, if you generate dealer key, which is basically writing that new key to the Immobilizer memory, and actually programming that unique ID in, you can actually go back and verify that that new ID has been programmed to the vehicle. So a little bit clearer confirmation in certain respects if you do generate dealer key as opposed to generate OEM dealer key. Now it's going to ask us to stick the blank key in again, and we're going to proceed hitting Volkswagen. So now it says it's generated the key successfully. So now basically what's happened is that brand new key has the ID written to it, and now we have to synchronize that new ID for the brand new key to the Immobilizer and write it to the Immobilizer so that it will start the vehicle and unlock the doors. So now we're going to go to step 4, which is learn key. So again, the function structure we did here, read anti-theft data, we saved it and backed it up, then we clicked on generate dealer key, we stuck the new key into the T-Ninja box, it generated the dealer key, now we have to learn the key to the vehicle. It is not a smart key, it's a bladed key. Remember, smart keys do not have a physical blade. Now we're going to enter in, we have 3 keys to learn, right? Because we have 2 original keys that are still functional, and then we have 1 brand new key that has been not learned to the vehicle yet. And I accidentally typed 4 at the beginning here. There we go. So we're learning 3. Now we're going to select Volkswagen again. Now it's going to ask us to go through the learning process. So basically you're going to stick the first key in the ignition, although you'll already have a key in the ignition, so you won't really have to do that. You're going to leave it in the on position for about 5 or 6 seconds. Then you're going to turn the key back off, remove that key, switch to the next key, and do the same process 3 times, or however many times you have for the number of keys you want to learn. So if we look at the bottom of the dialog here, it shows us how many keys are learned and how many keys need to be learned total. So you'll watch the number change as we go through this here. And there's, so it's changed to 2 here, so you can see that we've already learned 1, 2, and when we learn the third, it automatically goes to this screen. So now it's going to ask us to turn off the ignition for 5 seconds, and then turn it back on after that and hit OK. So we'll give it a count of about 5 here. And there we go. Key learning succeeded. So, as I said, when you go through the learning process, you'll see that that ticker, if you will change from the number of keys learned each time you learn another key. When it gets to the final key, it'll just go and exit through the process and say the keys are done. You won't see it change to 3 before it starts to exit because it's already completed that final key. So now we're going to walk you through just a little bit more here, and you can see a couple other things. So now we're going in to read the anti-theft data, and we're going to see if we have a third ID programmed to the vehicle now. We're not going to save it this time because we just wanted to verify we have a third key ID programmed. So now we can see we have 3 IDs programmed to the Immobilizer. Key ID 1, 2, and 3 are all filled in on the Immobilizer. So that is the confirmation we need to see and prove that we did successfully program an additional key to this vehicle. In addition to that, obviously, we will test the vehicle key in the door locks. We'll test it for the remote function, so unlocking, locking, trunk, all of that. And we're also going to make sure that it starts the vehicle and the vehicle runs for at least 30 seconds and does not stall or exhibit any other abnormal behavior. So those are the confirmation pieces we need to prove that we have successfully programmed this key to the vehicle. Hi, I'm Håkan with Topdon, and I just wanted to thank you for watching our key programming video on the 2015 Volkswagen Jetta. Remember to follow us on YouTube, as we are always putting out new training videos and helpful videos that will assist you in using our tools more effectively. Just a couple other things I just wanted to mention before we wrap up for today. Keep in mind you can use the TP48, which is our tire pressure monitoring service tool, to check remote frequencies. So when we're talking about keys, it's nice because you can verify that the key that you have is a certain radio frequency before ordering a replacement key or checking your inventory if you keep keys on hand. You can also test the signal strength of a key to verify if the battery is working okay, so you'll know if you need to replace that. And of course, that's a great thing to do before you sell a customer a new remote as well, as you may have a dead battery on a new remote. So again, great tool to have in the arsenal if you're doing key work as well. Here we have our T-Ninja Box, which is the video we just did here, showing you how that works for key programming on a Volkswagen. Remember that this box does provide coverage on a number of European brands, so you can use it for more things than just Volkswagen. It also does provide EEPROM and MCU programming functionality on a number of different applications. We are actually going to be posting a coverage map for that in the very near future, which you will see, to make it a little bit easier if you do want to get into that EEPROM stuff. You'll know what you have covered on this particular tool and what you don't. It's also important to remember that the T-Ninja Box works with any of the professional series Topdon tools. So whether we're talking about the Phoenix Max, the Phoenix Remote, or if we're talking about the Phoenix Elite, the Phoenix Smart, or the Phoenix Pro, the T-Ninja Box will actually work with all of those, which was great because the software is already in your scan tool. All you have to do is connect the T-Ninja Box and the functionality will be enabled. So pretty straightforward there. Obviously a great value added for any of your professional series tools, so you can get more use out of the tool. Now, if you have questions on anything we've covered in this video, or you need support, don't hesitate to visit our website. If you're in the USA, make sure to search Topdon USA and submit your support ticket through the website or call our hotline. If you're outside of the USA, please contact the support on Topdon.com, and the support is available also through dealers. Many of your dealers will be able to provide technical support in addition to Topdon providing it directly. Again, we appreciate you watching this video and taking the time to learn something with us today, and if we can be of any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I'm Håkan, and thanks for watching.